Hey, football fans, this is Gary Greene, longtime Las Vegas handicapper and professional sports bettor here for the past 35 years. And this is Gary Wins Videos, and we're talking NFL football for this video. This is the prime time NBC bailout game of the week for week number 9. The Indianapolis Colts traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, where the Vikings are installed a 5.5-point favorite, and the total is 46.5. And this is a good one because they switched the game from what was originally scheduled for the Jacksonville at Philadelphia. And this is a much better matchup. And it's just got a lot of extra intrigue because the Colts made the big move this week to remove young quarterback Anthony Richardson and place Joe Flacco as the starting quarterback. And we know what Joe Flacco can do. He did it last year for the Cleveland Browns and got him to the playoffs. And he did it coming off the couch. So he has been with the Colts all year. He obviously knows the system. He's a very smart quarterback. And, a lot of people question the move, not me. I'm real critical of everyone, it seems like, for the most part. But if you're doing good, I like it. If your quarterback's going good and everything's in cohesion and the offensive line's playing well and you're gelling, that's the kind of teams I want to bet on, not teams going backwards. Now, in this case with the Colts, the problem was Anthony Richardson, number one, cannot read a defense. And I can't really hold that against him. He only played 1 year in college in a wild atmosphere at Florida, just run and gun style. And that they didn't prepare him at all. And now he's going to go in to the NFL. He's been injured so much, so he's in and out, in and out. He's not getting a current stay at the quarterback position to learn the position. And it is the hardest job in all of sports, bar none, being a quarterback of an NFL team. So he's struggling so badly, though. He's at the record pace of worst completion percentage of all time, 54%. I mean, there's no one even really close the rest of the league in the NFL. That's just terrific this late into the season. You can't have that. You're not going anywhere. This team's 4-4, and the fact is the locker room and the coaching staff, they weren't going to just continue to just blow the season so this kid can get some reps. I've seen Patrick Mahomes sit a year. I saw Jordan Love sit for 3 years. And the fact is he may end up learning more. And Joe Flacco is a great teacher. He'll be helping this young kid. But you got to sit the bench and learn. And Joe Flacco is the much better guy to be in this one. So it's a matchup now of two veteran quarterbacks for the most part. First, when you look at the Vikings and Sam Darnold, 67% completion, sixth best of all quarterbacks. He has been sacked 22 times, but he's not a runner for the most part. The Vikings' offensive line's been okay. I have to attribute some of the sacks to Darnold because he does stand back there trying. They do call some deep plays for Jefferson, and that's their MO. When you stand back there a little extra, one extra half a second, boom, you're getting sacked. So it's okay. I'm not totally against this offensive line, even though the numbers aren't too good. He's got 14 touchdowns. He's got 5 interceptions. He's got 25 passes over 20 yards. So this is a big play offense. Detroit Lions, big play offense. It's predicated to do that. So he's only got, though, surprisingly, 3 passes over 40 yards. So you would have expected more because Justin Jefferson's, to me, the best wide receiver in the league. He can break an easy catch and turn it into a long touchdown. We see a lot of that due to the bad defenses across the league. Guys out of place, new players in tough positions, cornerback, safeties, and they just miss a read and boom, little shortcut, boom, they're gone 67, 80 yards. They're not really 80-yard passes, but they get credit for it. So that was a little surprising. But the big thing for the Vikings, they came in here after 2 weeks ago, 5-0, looked like the steal of the year out of nowhere type of thing because Darnold hadn't really played great at any of his past stops. But all of a sudden he's clicking, the offense is clicking, the defense is clicking. Now, though, they lost 2 straight. So it's coming down to me now. The reason for the demise here in the past 2 weeks hasn't really been because of the offense. It's been because of the defense. And the defense has one of the best schemes, blitz packages. Their defensive coordinator, Flores, is one of the best in the league to me. They've just struggled. And I told you on the tape last week when they came off the first loss, I didn't like the stunts that they were playing against the run. They were getting gashed, and then they did it again. So, they're going to have to make quick adjustments. Now, here's the key in this game. Okay, you have a quarterback like Joe Flacco. Okay, and you'd say to yourself, okay, Joe Flacco is a little bit older. Normally, the Vikings defense is not a scheme that most quarterbacks want to see. It's difficult because they're blitzing at the highest rate in the league, something like 45%. But here's the key numbers that really even surprised me. And I knew this over the years, that Flacco was very good against the blitz. But Flacco, the last 2 years, since his coming for the Browns and then his play so far this year, and it's not a ton of games, but he's the top quarterback the last 2 years in touchdowns per pass attempt. 13% of the time he's throwing a touchdown. So for you prop guys, you might want to look at that over touchdowns. But his yards per completion also 15 yards per catch. Again, he's got he's got some decent wide receivers to be able to throw to. Not what Minnesota has, but pretty good. When blitzed, he's actually been phenomenal because he's been sacked the fourth least amount in the league at just 5% of the time. So he's quick to get the ball off. And the reason is he can read the defense at the line of scrimmage. And that is something that no one really understands how valuable that is. He can beat a defense. He can close out the play, get into a new play, quick hitters, whatever needs to be to get away from being sacked, away from getting that bad second down and 20 or second down and 17. So that's where he's good at. Again, I like the move. I like Flacco in there again. He's gotten the team to the playoffs off the couch. He can do it again. They got a vaunted schedule, this Colts team, for the next 4 weeks. But if they can somehow pull out of it at 6-6, the last 5 games are all very winnable. So, and that's part of the reason why the Colts don't want to pull the plug. You can't just let down 54 other players and just say, hey, guess what? Go out there, play hard, but we're tossing this season just to get this kid some reps. Can't do that. Just the NFL, there's nobody that good in the NFL right now this year that you would think that you don't have any chance. You could get this far, but then you can't get any further. If you could get Flacco hot here, you never know what can happen. And get that running back healthy as well, which has not been a case for a long time. But let's look at the two defenses. First, the Colts defense, number 28 coming into the league, which to me is a little shocking and it's a little deceiving because they have actually played pretty well, especially on the road. Their defense has not cost them. But 16 sacks, not bad. 6 passes over 40 yards, that's not good. And that's really where they've gotten hurt a little bit. Also, 19 passes over 20 yards. So they're giving up the big play. The defense has been on the field too long, and that's partly the reason. When we look at the Vikings defense, that again, after 5 games, you're like, wow, the off-season pickups, Van Ginkel, a couple other guys, the defensive coordinator, calling blitz packages that a lot of quarterbacks are struggling with. But they have 24 sacks. They have a league-leading 12 interceptions. They've given up 14 touchdowns, which is 6th most. But they've only allowed 1 pass play of 40-plus yards. And that means that they're forcing the other team to grind out drives to get touchdowns. The problem is they can't stop the run, and that's why they're number 19 in the league. Now, the Colts, like I mentioned, on the road, they gave up only 16 to Green Bay in Green Bay. They gave up 17, or they won that game against Tennessee and only gave up 17. They gave up only 20 at Houston, and we know Houston's offense is good. The only time they had a trouble game was 37. They allowed the Jacksonville to finally get hot. They just had a very bad day. Lawrence made some really nice passes. I give credit there, which was very rare for him. But the key, too, is that they lost 3 of those games, and they could have won all of them. But Anthony Richardson just made mistakes after mistakes. He couldn't lead the offense because if you're giving up that amount of points, 20 points or less, you're capable of winning that game. Any team in this league, even the bad ones. If you told the bad teams, look, we're only going to give up 20 today, they would say, well, we have a shot. So now we enter Flacco, and like I said, I don't envy any quarterback against these blitz packages if you're not good at it, and most quarterbacks aren't. Patrick Mahomes is, Brady was, the elites are, and that's part of being able to change the plays at the line of scrimmage, like I just mentioned with Flacco. So that's a big thing as well. When we look at this game in general now, it's going to be a heavily bet game because the fact is it's a Sunday night game and people are going to try to bail out that had a bad day, and never do that. I can't stress that enough, never to do that. But the key here is, can Flacco duplicate last year's success? He's been with this team all year, so he knows the plays. He knows what the coach likes. He knows the intricacies of the players now that he's working with the wide receivers, etc. The good news here is for the Colts that the Vikings are allowing 111 rushing yards per game. So it's 227 passing yards. So if the Colts defense here can hold Darnold to 250 or less, I got to believe they got a real chance not just to cover, but to win the game. They're going to have to shore up that run defense because it hasn't been good the last couple of weeks. So we'll see if the Colts can get a run game going. If they can, boy, that's going to really help out the passing game for Flacco, and that will cause a lot less blitzing. Although I wonder if they're going to blitz as much as they normally do. They're going to have to cut that back with the success that Flacco has against blitzes. But again, we look at this Vikings team. Good news. And this is really good news. They're going to get their star tight end Hockenson back. And that guy's a security blanket for any quarterback. That's going to open up Jefferson a little bit. Jefferson's been a little bit, smothered, where I've watched on tape two guys covering him. They're just saying, hey, this guy's not beating us. And I told you, I think it was last week or the week before, that he was going to have a breakout game and get over 100 yards, and he did. But he's still not getting that big, deep ball that he's been successful with over the last couple of years. So we'll see if that can happen in this game with Hockenson back. Maybe they start hitting some tight end plays across the middle. The safety's got to come up a little bit. Boom, that's one-on-one coverage then for Jefferson, and the other wide receivers are good too, the number 2 and 3. So it's a good 1, 2, 3 trio for the Vikings receivers for Darnold to throw to. And the bottom line though for the Vikings, when I look at the final thoughts here, 5-0 start, and then they've hit some turmoil. So the questions are now asking, were they 5-0 good? They probably weren't. But at the same time, they lost a heartbreaking game. They could have won that. So they're not like they got trashed in the two games. But I don't like to bet teams off back-to-back losses when the reason that they lost was the opposing quarterbacks were very solid quarterbacks. And that's what happened the last 2 weeks. Goff, one of the best in the league now. Stafford, Super Bowl winner, finally got his receivers back. Vikings struggled in all phases, really, on the defensive side of the ball. So they can't afford that there, too. But when you look at the facts, you're talking about the Vikings laying 5.5, so getting close to a touchdown that you're going to have to win by. And to me, there's no value to take the Vikings. Not off the back-to-back loss. I got to see them turn it around. I've seen teams just go into a funk and lose 3-4 straight. We saw that with the Jets. And the Jets won last night, but don't look at it like they did some great turnaround. They did exactly what I thought. They were going to sack the quarterback for the Houston Texans because the offensive line was really bad. And it was really bad because they sacked them 8 times. Is Joe Flacco going to get sacked 8 times on Sunday night? No, he's not. So to me, this is more of a big test for the Vikings because the Colts team is basically playing on free money. Okay, they don't have nothing to lose. The expectations weren't that high. The Vikings were a little higher if they could get Darnold to play like they had hoped. And he has really bought into the system, and the system has been well for him. It's been a good match made in heaven, really, because I love the head coach for the Vikings, the way he calls plays. He's been calling plays that are helping Darnold. The past teams haven't helped him at all. But when the Vikings get through this game, if they can turn the corner, we will change our mind on the Vikings because they will have some positive momentum. They would have squirted off the 2 losses. And the next 4 games are very, very winnable. For the Colts, it's the opposite. So they're still treading water. They're 4-4. They're hanging in there. But the Colts, after this game, they have Buffalo at the Jets and then Detroit in their next 3. So what a gauntlet in this month of November for the Colts. If they can come out of this with a 2-2, the last 5 games are very winnable for the Colts. Very easy type competition that they can beat every one of those teams and may even be favored in 3 or 4 of the games. So This is a big game for both teams. I expect it to be a little bit more of a grind out because, again, if you're used to calling one system on defense and you have to change it up, and sometimes you just have to do it. Just can't keep blitzing against a guy that could crush you. You know, he's good at it. And that's what Flacco's good at. So interesting to see. Again, I'm a little worried of this Vikings defense against the run. Maybe they were more fortunate because they were taking big leads in the early 5-0 run, and that's why they weren't getting exposed. So these are all little things that you have to take into factors when you're looking to bet on a game. There's so many factors. I mean, I have a chalkboard basically, and there's a lot of things that have to be right for me to make a check mark. There's a lot of games. There's way more in college, and that's partly why I love college basketball, because there's 3 to 4 times the amount of games. If I can't find 3 mistakes out of 50 games on a card, then I shouldn't be doing this. And no one should be doing it as a professional. But at the same time, if you're just betting the games, I do these previews. I said that I probably would have been forced to just take the under in the Jets-Texans game due to the fact that if you're getting sacked a lot, you're going to be behind the line, 3rd and 17s, things like that, and you're going to just keep punting the ball back and forth. And that's kind of what happened in that game. It was a little better in the second half. Thank God that we could stomach to watch that. But we still look at this game as being a tough one. So, again, if you're trying to bail out on a Sunday night game, that's not the way to do it. Try to keep your bankroll rolling as long as you can, and you'll stay in this for a lot longer. And we'll do some more videos. I'm going to do an NFL Week 9 betting nuggets. That'll probably be a little bit longer, but I'll try to get you as much as I can on just about every single game without getting it too long. And then, of course, check out all our other videos here on a regular basis at Gary Wins Videos. And hopefully you enjoy all the games this weekend. Bet only what you could afford to lose. And have a great weekend. And I'll be back again with another video later on Friday night. Have a great one.